Hello, everybody. My name is Ty, and I'm here with my husband CJ.
Yo.
And we are going to talk to you guys about marriage.
Yeah, we are.
There are a lot of aspects of marriage to cover, so we won't be able to cover everything on today's videos, but we're going to go through it step by step with you guys.
This way, and we're also going to break it down for you guys to better understand instead of just hearing what the preacher says or what your mama says. We're going to break it down each segment as much as we can while we can for you to understand it and be able to grasp it. And if you have any questions, please always remember to leave one in the comments, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. With that being said, let's get into it, baby.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing you should have already known before even entering any type of relationship is work on yourself. When you don't work on yourself and you enter a relationship, you are having that person drag you along, or vice versa, and it wears them out. Because now, instead of you educating yourself and you becoming confident and building your self-esteem, now they have to go behind you and fix and repair the damages that you were too lazy to do on your own. And again, guys, understand this. When you do that to your partner that you're supposedly supposed to care about / love, it absolutely wears them out. So how to prevent this? First of all, study your ASVAB.
ASVAB is basic knowledge that you should know going into the world.
Bible and demons.
You want to be educated on theology because theology is basically the source of life in general. And demons, you want to also know about demons because if you don't have any knowledge of demons, you don't know how to fight it.
Now, I love how you mentioned theology there, baby, because yes, I mentioned the Bible and demons. However, if you guys want to go beyond the Bible and you want to look into the Quran or the Torah, again, then you'll eventually see that they're all the same. They're all pretty much talking about the same guy. And as far as demons, we did already release 2 videos that pretty much help give you an idea of a few of the demons, or at least the ones that we know about throughout our history. Finances would be another book you need to study on, or subject you need to study on.
It's important to have financial literacy because if you don't, you're going to live a very poor life. You're going to be in poverty all your life. You're going to accumulate a lot of debt, which is basically how the system is built, designed for us to live.
And I love how you said the system is designed, because let's face it, guys, this world revolves around the almighty dollar. So if you don't know how to manage that dollar, you're going to end up in poverty, like my baby said. History. You need to know your history. The great Santa Anna said, those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. Baby, why is it good to know your history?
Like my baby said, it's history repeats itself. If you have no knowledge of history, then you're going to be ignorant to a lot of things that are going on because there's nothing that has been done under the sun that hasn't occurred before. So it's going to be a repetitive thing.
Next thing you should understand or study is the law.
The law is very crucial for the obvious reasons you want to know how to defend yourself in this life.
Another good thing you need to understand, or at least take time to study, is psychology.
Once you know psychology, you're able to handle people better. You understand people more, and then by understanding them better, you're more apt to communicate.
And last but not least, and you don't have to study these in any particular order, would be survival.
Everyone needs to know survival. It's pretty self-explanatory because if you don't know survival, you're going to die.
That's a good way to put it, baby. Now, after studying theology, this is why it's very important to know in your relationship status, wherever you're at in your relationship, pretty much a good simple way to do it, to at least start your relationship off in a good way or positive or repairing way, would be at least apply the 10 Commandments to your own relationship. Apply it to your own house. Baby, what are the 10 Commandments?
I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Break that down for the people, baby.
Well, God is basically saying we shouldn't worship anything else other than him.
Very good. Second commandment, do not make for yourself an idol of any kind.
Anything could become an idol. Anything that you put over Christ becomes your idol.
What she refers to is anything you spend more time with. Now, it is very imperative that you apply this to your relationships, because if, let's say you're a video gamer, hey, there ain't nothing wrong with it. I like playing my video games too. However, if my woman wants me to spend time with her, you need to balance out that time. If you're spending more time on the game or work or anything else more than you are with her, then why are you even with her? And same vice versa, because there is some women that, they like play games, or they may spend time with reading or watching TV. Okay, what is the point of being in a relationship if you're going to make more time for other things than that actual person?
The third commandment, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
This is so you do not bring unwelcome curses upon your home. If you're always saying the Lord's name in vain, such as God damn it and Jesus Christ, you're obviously saying his name in vain. Lord, forgive me. Now, it is very imperative that you understand this, because if you walk around, you say it like it ain't nothing. Like, I know a lot of Hollywood is making it normal now and even put it in some of the video games. You don't understand the type of curse and what kind of unwelcomed, loving, spiritual part you're bringing upon your home.
Fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy.
Take a day off, guys. I understand you got to work so you can pay bills. I understand you got kids and stuff. But there's times where you need to take it all off the books. Take a day, no studying, no working, no exercising, no reading. Just relax. Now, if you relax to studying, maybe you relax to watching TV, that's okay. But just understand that you need to be in a state of relaxation. Take some time with the family. Just totally rest your mind, your body. Even if that means you take about 4 or 5 naps in the day, it's okay. Keep it holy.
Fifth commandment is the first commandment with promise. Honor your father and mother, and thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
In other words, do not disrespect your parents. Even if your parents are being disrespectful, as long as you respect them, at the end of the day, God himself will deal with them. Or if you do not totally believe in God, then you at least have to believe in karma. Trust me, it will come back, and karma is a bitch. It also says under the same commandment, mothers and fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. So I'm not saying that you should idolize your parents or put your parents above your relationships, but when it comes to kids, especially those of you who have kids, they need to respect both you as the mother and both you as the father, not one over the other.
The sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder.
No, I ain't gonna lie. Baby, I'm pretty sure you and I wanted to kill each other over our years of being together. Woo! But God says, no, you're not allowed to do that. So, I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory. Yes, your partner is going to piss you off. That's just a fact. Because you got her world or your world versus his world / your world. Obviously, there's times you guys are not going to 100% agree, but this is where you have to compromise.
The seventh commandment, neither shalt thou commit adultery.
Just because you're going through a hard time or you guys do not see eye to eye does not give you the full rights to walk out of your marriage and sleep with the neighbor next door just because she's hot or she talks to you just right. You need to make sure that your relationship has ended before you even move on to the next one. I don't care how sweet the guy is. I don't care how nice the girl is. It does not matter. You are already in a relationship with the first person. If you don't want them doing it to you, then don't do it to them.
The eighth commandment, thou shalt not steal.
Now, I don't know why I have to break this down to people, but why are you stealing from your partner? If you guys are sharing the same responsibilities, such as taking care of kids, taking care of the bills, etc., How are you going to steal from your partner? And if you're stealing from your partner, why even be in the relationship? Or for those of you who don't care, let's reverse the script. For the person who is in the relationship with someone who is stealing from you, it's time to just walk away, because obviously they have no respect for you, they have no love for you, and you're just being strung along just for the convenience.
The ninth commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor.
In other words, do not sit there. Let's say you don't like my brother, or I don't like your sister. Now, if I sit there and say, hey, your sister sat here and she told me some dirty stuff about you, okay, you cannot sit there and make up a story to get rid of that person, to get them in trouble, to cause riffraff, whatever your intentions are. It's going to come back to bite you. It may not come back immediately, but it will come back to bite you. Along with people like neighbors or whatever. If you're sitting there, oh, this neighbor, he's against me. He's against me. He hates me. Whether the fact is true or not, it does not matter unless you actually have hardcore proof and your partner can actually see it and you both agree. Do not sit here and spread rumors. I'm telling you, it just never ends well.
The 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods.
Do not worry about your neighbor. Just because you and your family are going through hard times and you see them with a bigger house and a better car, you don't know what they've had to go through to get those items, nor do you understand what sacrifices they've had to make, or if they're even struggling with what they have. That might be the only thing they have going for them. And you're sitting here trying to take that one thing away, or you're trying to, make them look bad by one-upping them. For what reason? Only because you like what they have? But yet, most people, when they get on that other side of the yard, they realize, oh, well, I like what you have, but I don't like the responsibility of having it. So it's one of those things. Don't covet what your neighbor has. Be grateful for what you have. Now, John 13:33 through 36. The new commandment I give to you, baby. Go ahead.
A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another.
In other words, love yourself, love your partner as much as they love you. So plain and simple.
James 4 verses 1 through 2 says, where do wars and fights come from among you? Do they not come from your desires for pleasures that war in your members? You lust and do not have, you murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and war, yet you do not, because you do not ask. Basically what this is saying, that if we would go to God and ask him for what we do desire, things would be a lot easier. People wouldn't be envying the next one, coveting, murdering, stealing, robbing. Why not ask God for it?
And if you really want more specifications, you can look up the YouTube video, Steve Harvey, Take Limits Off God. In order to have a good foundation, you need to understand the elements to a good relationship. First, you need to understand is boundaries.
You want to have boundaries. It's a type of respect. You're basically, Joyce Meyer said it best. If you don't want your neighbors pooping in your yard, build a fence. So you want to communicate to your partner your likes and dislikes and set up a boundary as far as
This is what I want to take. This is what I will take. This is what
I
I'm
won't
not going to
tolerate with.
Yes, exactly. What you will and will not tolerate with. Next is communications.
Communication is very important for the obvious reasons. If you're not communicating well, there's like so many problems that will happen due to lack of communication. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just sitting there, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to the club, obviously that is piss poor communication, because you're not saying where you're going, who you're going with, how long you're going to be. And let's face it, guys, in this world that we are in, there is human trafficking going on. You got the alphabet community sitting here doing their weird thing, trying to eliminate all the Bible, which obviously has a lot to do with morals and doing what's right. You got people coming out left and right saying, hey, if it feels good, do it. But you got rapists and pedophiles and murderers. And that's just part of it. If you're sitting here saying, I'm going to go to the store and pick up some food, okay, what kind of food? Are you picking up dinner? Are you picking up a few things? Or are you doing full on grocery shopping? You guys need to learn how to communicate better with each other. Another problem or foundation element you need to have is compromising.
In a relationship, it's very important to compromise because no two people think alike. So, say your partner likes to go a certain place to eat, and the other one likes to go a different place. When you compromise, you can say, well, honey, how about this time we'll go to your restaurant and next time we'll compromise and we'll go to my restaurant. Then both parties are happy. It shouldn't just be one way.
And you can even do vice versa or both. I mean, you don't have to have a specific way. And also a good thing is, let's say your woman, she wants to go and spend $60 on her hair. Well, maybe you guys want a $60 tool, or maybe you guys want a $60 video game, or maybe the video game's $70. Or the tool's $70, or the car part, something that you really want that you don't have to have. Guess what? It's okay. Let her have the same thing. Now, if you can't afford both, either you guys need to wait until you can, or try to meet in the middle to where you guys can have something mutual. The next foundation is love.
Love is the foundation to any relationship. And the best love to emulate is the love of Jesus.
It is imperative that you actually love the person. Don't get with the person because your mom and dad told you to. Don't get with the person because you don't want to be alone. This is not love. And you definitely don't want to get with a person if you're like, oh, well, this person's got money, or this person can take care of me. That's not love. Because eventually, guess what? That whole big picture, that wonderful portrait you painted for yourself, eventually it will come crashing down on you, and it will not end well. The next aspect to the foundation is respect.
It's important to respect your partner. That's how you build trust. If you don't like something, this is also like the golden rule. Don't do something to someone that you don't want them doing to you.
And the last piece of this foundation, and just like we already discussed in the dating rules, trust. You have to trust the person.
But trust is also earned, and over time, getting to know each other, you build trust. It just doesn't happen right away. So that's something you build in a relationship, and it's also connected with respect also.
This right here, everybody, should be your foundation, as we've already mentioned in the dating part. I know we were kind of like capitalizing, but you guys need to understand this. This is your foundation. This is how you keep a good house. A house divided cannot stand.
When it comes to the world of dating, a lot of people don't know what to do. Even though they feel as though they do, they really have no idea of what they're doing. So we have a few guidelines that you guys can follow. We have theology and psychology mixed together, which helps us comes up with these rules. The first one, it has to do with respect. When Jesus says in Luke 6:31 and Matthew 7:12, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
If you don't want them to do it to you, don't do it to them, and vice versa.
Second one, establish boundaries with everyone, including yourself.
Now, obviously, this is an attachment onto what we had said earlier as far as the fundamentals. Now, the reason why this is a little different is because boundaries you want to set with your person, your partner. This right here is what you need to set with not only your partner, but also within yourself and everyone else around you. If you want to have a good relationship, you don't want to have a brand new relationship with somebody and you want them to respect you, but yet your brothers disrespect you, your mom disrespects you, your friend disrespect. You need to set boundaries not only with what you will tolerate from others, but also what you allow and put out for yourself. Number 3 is thou shalt not lie. Why do you have a hard time telling the truth? If you can't tell the truth, then don't say anything. It's not that hard. If they want to know something, just tell them, I can't tell you right now. It's just now's not the time. It's not that hard.
Fourth one is keeping your word. Say what you mean and mean what you say. It's basically being honest.
Also, it's about punctuality. If you say you're going to meet me at 9 o'clock in the morning for a business meeting or 11 o'clock at night for a club, don't show up at 11:30, because you had a hard time finding shoes. Don't call me at 9:15 in the morning knowing that the meeting started at 9 saying, hey, I'm going to be late. Or, hey, man, I can't make it. And it turns out you're at a friend's house because you went up partying all night. That shows that you cannot be counted on. You're not reliable. And it's not just friends, it's also dating. If you're my wife and I need you to pay the electric bill, and then 5 days later the electric bill gets shut off, why? Because you decided to take that money and spend it on your shoes or not even pay it at all. You need to be reliable.
Fifth one is being transparent. Be vulnerable as your trust builds gradually.
Women want to see the real you, but not all of you all at once. Again, you probably heard that from Hitch. Yes, they do want to see you. They want to know you. And just be real. Don't be fake. If you're not a nice guy, don't be a nice guy. When my wife and I first got together, I told her I'm an asshole. And then through various points of our relationship, she is like, babe, you're an asshole. Okay, I told you that the day we met. I never portrayed to you something that I'm not. Not to mention, the true you will come out eventually anyway. So it's just be honest, but just try to keep it on the down low. And then as you guys get to know each other, then show all of your cards. Women, that works for you as well.
Sixth one is work on your communication.
Now, understand that we've already covered the communication is one of the fundamentals of a relationship. However, learning how to communicate is different from communication. See, communicating with somebody is just a simple fact of talking back and forth. Hey, I'm going out. Hey, I'm going this. I take care of that. The cat's done. Learning how to take care of your partner or communicate with your partner is, again, it is fluent communication. That way there's no misunderstandings. There's a lot of meanings, especially in today's society with today's vocabulary. There's a lot of ways things can be taken. A lot of people like to text, and you can't really get the full emotion nor understand how they're coming from with that simple phrases, especially when people try to dumbify themselves with simple letter uh, uh, abbreviations, if you will. You need to be able to communicate and communicate clearly. This way, both parties understand what's going on, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and where it's going to go from there.
The seventh one is a couple that prays together stays together. I can't tell you how important it is to pray together because it helps to not only prevent arguments, but it also helps smooth things over a lot.
Number 8 is engage in activities together.
It's important to do things together. That's why the Bible says to be equally yoked, because the more you have in common, is the better it is for your relationships. You can say take different similarities in your interests, as far as you can go shooting together. There's some hobbies that you like to do, maybe swimming or just hanging out. And by engaging in activities together also helps with your intimacy.
Which obviously everything that helps with intimacy will actually help you grow. It's not all about what happens in the bedroom.
The ninth one is learn to compromise.
You have to meet halfway. That's just a fact. She or he is not going to like everything you do. That's just a fact. My wife and I'm not going to lie, ever since we've been married, I've never found somebody who has definitely been more fitted for me my entire life. However, there are certain things that she does that I don't do. My baby knows the Bible. I know demonology. My baby, she is a soft hand that eventually gets hard. I'm a hard hand that will get soft. It's there's different ways. My baby is not a crowd person. She likes to be by herself. Me, I don't mind walking up to any crowd saying, "Hey man, what's up?" It's there's a lot of differences and you have to understand that. And you don't want your partner to be exactly like you, because if not, you might as well just have a relationship with just yourself.
The 10th one is don't ignore or overlook small issues or red flags. Address them. What happens is if you don't address them, they're going to blow out of proportion anyway. So why not address them at the beginning? And that way it doesn't have to be, what's the word I want to use? It doesn't have to build, you won't build a mountain. To prevent that mountain, you need to address it when it's just starts to occur.
Not to mention, this could also violate your boundaries. Say if they forget, they have a habit of leaving their trash on the countertop, and you're one of those clean freaks. Now at the first they may have forgot it. Maybe they're excited about you and they didn't think twice. But if you press it on that a time, then they may eventually take it as an, okay, well, I can just leave my trash or whatever and they'll clean up after me. Or, something simple as, when you keep over talking the person, if you don't address that real quick, hey, I don't appreciate being over talked, disrespected. Let me finish what I have to say. Now these are small issues that can become major problems later on in your relationship if you don't address them in a timely and yet decent and respectful manner.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a bonus one, guys.
Don't be in a hurry to get to sex.
Yes, I love it. We're going to say it again. Don't be in a hurry to get to sex. And it's not that big a deal. Yes, I know she looks fine, and trust me, you're going to have all the time in the world. But you need to take time. And when I say take time, please understand, not 2 weeks. I ain't even talking about 2 days. You need to give it at least a month or two, because it takes time to get to understand the person. I'm not talking about their history. Anybody can talk about their entire history within 2 hours. But to actually get to understand who they are, why they are the way they are, why are they right for you, and why are you right for them? You need to go through each and every issue. Talking about kids alone is a week-long subject, because you need to talk about what they should the way they should be raised, what they should be taught in schools, what guidelines you have for them. Some parents may want their kids to learn martial arts at 5, versus other kids may not want their kids to learn anything until they're 11, and by then they want them to learn how to handle guns. Some parents may want their kids to be in the military. Some people may want their kids to learn about God, and some people may want their kids to learn about the devil. You got to understand and learn about your partner. When you put sex in it, your bodies are already connected, and you guys can do something that makes you feel good, and your emotions are high, but now you're setting yourselves up for failure, because all these other red flags, communication, praying, compromising, it all went out the window. And now, even if you guys try to build on that, you're not building on what you know to begin with, because you guys already got the prize. Sex is only 10% of the relationship, people, but 90% of the problem. Now, let's say everything up to this point is perfect. Everything is good. Guys, this is a big thing you need to understand about your women. This is a guy note, okay? Man to man. You see that woman sitting next to you, get a big old smile on her face. We're starting to talk about the wedding. Well, let me go ahead and be clear, and let me give you a warning. If she starts turning into this, or this, or this, what they refer to as a bridezilla, or they're sitting there complaining about how much a ring should be, you need to get out now. because obviously she does not care about you. She cares about herself. The wedding day is not all about her. A lot of people like to say this. The wedding ceremony is about you and her making a commitment. It's about you guys taking responsibility together. If she's all about this, and that, oh, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. You know what? Nothing in the world is perfect. And one of the things that my wife and I have learned, especially on various events that we have planned, nothing hardly ever goes according to plan because you didn't leave room for the devil. Now, this is one of the few times you will ever hear me say that. And the reason being is because life happens. Cab drivers are late. Cars break down. Electric bills get shut off. People get sick. Shit is going to happen. It's called life. That's not counting when you count other elements like society, people, government, like COVID-19. You can't plan that stuff. Or if you got demonic forces, maybe your house is haunted. Maybe you got somebody that's really evil trying to plan stuff or do voodoo on you. You cannot help that. But if you have a woman that is literally turning into hell on wheels, you need to get out, because obviously she feels that the only reason why you're even in the marriage is because you have to be there. When she fails to realize the whole reason why there is a marriage is because of you and her. Now, as you may know, my wife had already mentioned that there is a lot to a marriage. That's why people have to go to counseling, because it's not just a simple 5-minute, hour-long session that fixes your whole marriage. It's not no 10, 15-minute video, because Lord knows people only watch 5 minutes of it anyway, if that. And nobody can actually sit there and break down your marriage. I want to say your marriage, for the simple fact is everybody's marriage is different.
Correct.
Which also leads into, what is the big mistake that women do, babe, with their relationships?
Well, a lot of women have these fantasies that they're trying to put into reality, and that just doesn't work, because you're in the real world.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
Let's start with that.
Which we will
Marriage
break
is a
more
lot-
into it.
Yes, marriage is a lot more complicated than that. It's not a science like what some people are saying. It's very biblical, and that's why it's something we should take very seriously.
And I'm glad you said that too, because yes, they're trying to say science has determined the qualities of life. There's science has figured out the perfect marriage. Science has figured out 3 rules or 5 rules or 2 rules you need to know to have a good, successful marriage. First of all, a marriage is a lot like a car. Now, I know I got a lot of you guys' attention right now, like, hey, wait a minute, this guy's talking about cars. Well, good. So you men that know about cars, you should know that your average vehicle, and look it up, has about 32,000 pieces. Hoses, tires, wires, fluids, distributor cap, I mean, everything. And a marriage is a lot like that, because there are so many components that you need to understand, not only about yourself and not only about your partner, but about you and your partner. Because now you're taking these two and you're bringing them together. So, and the only person that knows how to do that is, as you can see, we're sitting in front of a cross and a pulpit, is the man behind you, or the man in front of you, or wherever he is in your life. Now, I know some people, they're going to get sensitive now because we're talking about God, and they don't want to hear about God in their relationship, because we come across it on many times where people are like, I want to fix it on my own. But the problem is with that is, if you're going to have problems with a car, what are you going to do with it?
You're going to take it to the mechanic,
Why? Why take it to a mechanic?
because the mechanic is an expert on cars.
Okay. So if you got legal problems and you can't figure it out on your own because Google ain't giving you the answers you need, why would you go to an attorney?
You'll take it to an attorney.
Okay, but why?
Why? Because they're professional with those type of in that field.
Okay. So that would be their business.
Exactly.
Okay, so that means marriage, when God said Adam and Eve, I guess marriage would be God's business.
Amen.
Do you get what we're
Yes, we
saying,
got it.
people? Yes, you may not like it. And we probably already know we're going to get a lot of disrespectful remarks on this video, but we're keeping it real. We're going to tell you the truth and rather hate you now than to tell you a beautiful lie and you love us later. God is the biggest part of the marriage. Accept it. And we're going to get into it as far as why.
Here are a few examples before you of couples who have chosen to take things into their own hands and handle the marriage their way instead of God's way.
And just so you're aware, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your daddy is. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're a nun. I don't care if you're a lawyer. I don't care if you're a psychologist. The fact of the matter is, every single time, if you don't know what you're supposed to know from the right people, and we're going to explain what we mean by the right people, this is going to be your outcome every time. Every single time. Because you're not going to the source. Just so you know. Now, to get a better understanding from another perspective, my wife and I have done various research, and we found two particular videos. Yes, they're a little bit long, but trust me, your relationship, invest your time in that. Whatever else you got going on, trust me, it's not as important as your relationship. Unless it's God, everything else needs to be put on hold. So with that being said, the first video both of you should watch is The Covenant of Marriage by Dr. Tony Evans. He is one of them that out of all the videos we've watched, I feel that he best explains the whole relationship process, what it truly means to be married, the covenant of marriage, such as what it means not only on a physical basis or a mental basis, but also on a spiritual basis as well.
The second video is with Joyce Myers on marriage, which is basically explaining how you should be in a marriage. Like each person is an individual. You don't want to rely on the other one to make you happy. That's a big flaw that a lot of people have, which basically puts too much weight on one person.
Which goes back to what we said earlier. You need to work on your self-confidence. You got to know stuff, because just like my
Right.
baby just said, and even you'll hear Joyce Meyer say, it wears the other person out.
Right.
It is not up to them. And guys, I know we're taking a little bit from the video, but trust me, you need to watch it for yourselves. It wears the other person out. It is not their job to make you happy. It's not their job to please you in the bedroom. It is not their job to help pick up the slack. They have to when you're down, but that doesn't give you full rights to kick your feet up and say, I quit. It's a partnership, because as you guys grow together, you need to work together. Agree?
Agree.
All right. Now, you guys have gotten married. You probably been on your honeymoon. And in the words of Chris Tucker, tear that ass up, Lee. Yeah. Make that woman, one with you, if you will. God says consummate the marriage, be fruitful and multiply, trust me. And he meant it. And what God said, he said it was good. But now it's time to talk about the rules. Take responsibility of your decision, aka your marriage. We're going to start with you women. In Ephesians, you don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust my wife. You don't have to trust me and my wife. But you do need to trust in God. And he says in Ephesians 5:22 through 23, wives, submit. Yes, this goes for you feminists or independent women. Submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Now, what this is in correlation, I know a lot of women are like, well, my man don't do this, my man. Okay, then he's not a man of God. You need to be a woman of God. Don't go down to his level if he's not serving God the way he needs to be, because a real man needs to follow God and you follow him. Therefore, the exception to the rule is if he does not follow God, which we will cover later, you'll understand. Baby, time to get on the men.
So God's charge to the men in Ephesians 5:25, he says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word." So, men, you ought to love your wives basically like Christ loved the church. You don't want to do anything to her that you wouldn't want her to do to you. And also, the way Christ loved the church, he's very humble. Even though he's the master of us all, he's still very humble. He washed his disciples' feet. This is just an example of how husbands should be humble to their wives. Even though God made you guys the head of the household, it doesn't mean that you can't hear and listen to your wife, because she is your equal, she's your helpmate. So humble yourselves and love her the way Christ loved the church.
And if you guys notice, if you'll take a minute and actually look at the scriptures, notice how in Ephesians 5:22 and Ephesians 5:25, God doesn't command the wives to love their husbands. He commands the wives to submit to the husbands. But he commands the husbands to love the wives. Why? Because mostly females already have that innate ability to love as it is. They have that mothering, loving nature already built within inside them. Men, we are the providers. We're go-getters. We go out there, we build houses, we fix cars, we cut down dinosaurs, bring in the meat. But we fail to realize why we do it. It's not just about survival. It's about living life. You want to survive? Go out in the woods. Go out in the ocean. Go out in the desert. But you want to live? Like my wife said, you need to respect your partner. A couple that prays together stays together. Let's not forget that, guys.
So in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 says, "But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband."
The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his body, but yields it to his wife. Now, pretty much what this means, and we're going to get more in depth with it later, is guess what? Ladies, when you marry, you no longer have the right over your own body. I know a lot of people, they like to say, well, it's my body. I'm going to tell you this is my life. No. When you get married to that man that you thought was adorable, you thought was sexy, you just couldn't live without, guess what? You just gave up your rights as a woman in general, because you're no longer a single independent woman. You are now a woman. You are now someone else's woman. You are now their wife. Husbands, it works the same thing with you. If a woman walks up to you, and I'm going to be blunt, if your wife walks up to you and says, give me some dick, you cannot tell her no. Because guess what? If you want to go out hanging out with your buddies and she wants some action, you have no right to deny her. She is the queen. And I don't know if anybody's ever played chess, but the queen has a lot more power. Us men, we provide the home, but the women pretty much run it.
Hebrews 13:4, "Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. Keep your lives free from the love of money, and be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.'"
In other words, guys, and in case you ever wondered, and this is why women get usually mad, especially if you bring another woman in their bed. Now, I ain't gonna lie, in my past relationships, I never understood where. I mean, if it's your mattress, it's your mattress, you know. But one thing I have learned, especially after getting right with God and then getting right with getting a woman that is wife material, I have learned that it is it's your zone, period. That is her territory as much as it is yours.
I also wanted to say that marriage is between two people No place in the Bible it says 3 or 4 people. So that is called sexual immorality. And that's what it means. Marriage should not be undefiled. You defile your bed when you go against God's order. God's order is the marriage should be between a man and a woman. That's 2 parties.
Which means husband and wife. Let's be clear, because I know there's people out there like to be skeptics or critics. Let's be clear. When my baby says man and woman, she means the husband and the wife.
Now, these are the do nots in a marriage. And when I say a do not, if you want your marriage to succeed, do not do the following. First one is taken from 1 Corinthians 7:5. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. A lot of people, they deprive their spouse of sexual intercourse because they're upset with them. That is against God's law, because what you're doing is provoking your husband or provoking your wife. And what do you think is going to happen? That husband or wife is going to go elsewhere and seek for their satisfaction, their pleasure. And that's what it means to not withhold from your partner, because Satan will take over. The second one is from Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. In every relationship, we're not going to agree with each other all the time. Sometimes you're even going to be angry and upset with each other. That's okay. But what you do, my husband and I, we always pray and then we try to work things out. However, sometimes you'll just agree to disagree, which is the best way to let it go, because you can always come back and discuss the issue again if you guys are not meeting eye to eye, and you can't resolve every issue immediately, so sometimes you'll just have to leave it alone and just agree to disagree. However, what the Bible means when it says don't let the sun go down on your wrath is basically you don't want to go to bed upset with anybody really in particular, because what happens is that if unforgiveness is still in your heart, and if you die, you will end up going to hell if you don't forgive that person. So the best thing to do is to make peace with anyone you're upset with, but in this case we're speaking about spouses. The third one is Ephesians 4:27, nor give a place to the devil. This is attached on to what the last scripture we were talking about, because what happens when you stay angry is you're giving place to the devil, because when you don't forgive your partner, you will basically, like, evil starts to create within your heart against that person, like resentment. Then you start to get bitter, have animosity towards each other. And when that starts to happen, every little thing will agitate you. So evil continues to create itself if you give place to the devil. So what you want to do is pray about it, ask God to forgive you, forgive each other, and that's how you continue in the love of Jesus. The fourth one is Matthew 19:6. So then, they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder or separate. This is one of my favorite scriptures, because this basically solidifies what the scripture is saying about the unity of a marriage. A man and a woman, when you're joined together, you're no longer two individuals, but you become one. And that is why marriage is very important in the eyes of God, because he makes you one. And there are a lot of people that will try to separate you, but that becomes a curse to them, because Jesus says what he put together, no one separate. So he's the only one that can separate a marriage, not anyone else.
Something else that needs to be taken from this particular scripture too, because remember, our Lord and Savior, he spoke in parables, is when it says let no man separate, which means number one, God will punish any and all who try to come between you and your significant other. Number two, nobody should be giving you advice on your marriage unless they are a pastor or a priest, or more specifically, the ones who either married, baptized, or married and baptized you. That's just a fact. Your mom is going to be biased. Your friends are going to be biased. You need to have a non-biased party that knows the Word of God. That way you guys can be true and honest to the Word, to the letter. Therefore, we get into the psychological parts about it. Do not take advantage of your spouse. Let's say the husband loses a job. He's having a hard time trying to find a job. With today's economy, I understand. However, just because your wife is able to work 6-7 days a week, that does not mean you take advantage of her. And what I mean by that is, guess what? Unless you're sick, yeah, you may be fighting depression. But guess what? You're home all day. Clean the house. Take care of the kids. Go grocery shopping. Hang up the laundry. I can't tell you how many times my wife and I has had to take turns. There's times where she does laundry. There's times I do laundry. She's not my slave. She's not my maid. She's not my bitch. She is my partner. She is your partner. Stop treating her like she's a rug or doormat or some Uber Eats go girl. That's not how it works. Do not take advantage of her. If she's working, you need to be working. Even if it's a side hustle. If she's working 12 hours a day at a factory, you need to be out there cutting grass 12 hours a day doing side hustles or Uber or whatever you got to do. Next one is do not control your spouse. Control is not love, guys. Women and men, you both need to understand. If your partner is sitting there trying to tell you what you can and cannot do, that's not love. That's control. If they're abusing you, that is not love. That is control. That is them and their ego. They need to let it go. Do not compare. Now, this is very important, especially if you do not want to have your marriage fall apart. Like my woman said, do not do this. Reason being is because the reason why you got with this new person is so you can actually get away from the past mistakes that you made. You chose not to acknowledge the red flags. You chose not to pray together. You chose to let the devil in, and you chose to do things your own way instead of God's way. Therefore, even though the other person may have been a bad person, maybe they cheated on you, maybe they beat you, maybe they didn't want to go to work, but you chose that person. So if you get with another person, that person is nothing like the other one. They may have some habits. But again, this is where you guys have control over your boundaries, your communication skills, your compromising. You are the one that has to make that decision, not them. Do not deceive your spouse or hide/withhold anything. In other words, if you're going out, let's say, oh, I'm going out with my buddies. If she asks, or even if she doesn't ask, if you go out with your buddies and half your buddies are females, especially if they got a thing for you, that's something your partner needs to know. Yeah, and that's the same thing with the guys. If you women are going out, if you and you girls are going out, and you're damn well are going to a bar, and you're going to be hitting up on guys and having them buy your drinks, your husband has the right to know that. And you're probably thinking, oh, no, he does. Yes, he does. Again, you don't own your body anymore. He does. And it's the same thing, vice versa. He has the right to know where you're at. And one of the biggest things that people fail to realize, if you've ever seen CSI, if you've ever seen Criminal Minds, if you've ever seen Rookie or any of these shows where people get killed and kidnapped and disappear all the time, I want to know where my wife is. That way, in case something happens, I know where I'm going. Because let's face it, cops don't always get the bad guy in the end like they do on the TV shows. 9 times out of 10, they're like, well, we don't know what to tell you. Maybe she ran away. They turn around like it's your fault that your partner disappeared. And that's if you do things by the book. So, and not only that, if your partner asks, again, you're also leaving room for the devil because you're trying to get away with something. My wife has full access to my phone. She has full access to my laptop. I have nothing to hide from her. She is my partner. I'm not trying to get ahead on her. And if you're not trying to do the same thing, and this goes for the men and women, then why are you hiding your phone? Why are you hiding your contacts? Why do you have to have certain messages encrypted? The truth's going to come out sooner or later. So you might as well go ahead and tell the horrible truth now instead of a beautiful lie later. Do not fear is number 9. Again, this is all psychological, people. Do not fear. That is from the scripture, showing your significant other affection regardless of surroundings. Guess what? I'm going to walk up and kiss my woman right on the mouth, and I don't give a damn what you got to say. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, you ain't a part of my marriage. And I speak that to anybody and everybody, not only to our listeners and out there, but you guys need to say that the same thing. If you want to hold your wife's hand, if you want to give her a big old kiss right in the middle of the parking lot, go right ahead. Now, do not disrespect your woman by grabbing her on the ass, because now you're telling society that that's all she is. All she is a good sex toy in the bedroom. You need to have respect for your woman, just like men. I mean, it's like a woman walking up and grabbing some dick. You're telling the women, hey, this is all my guy's good for. No, you can obviously show affection, hold each other's hands, walk, communicate, be intimate, but you don't, everything far from literally grinding or having sex. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. There is a unit associated with the police department. It's called the DV unit or DV squad. It's referred to as domestic violence squad. They have the law that backs them up that will actually override many of your constitutional rights because they are enacting in the capacity of saving one from possible harm or danger. And with that being said, they have the right to come into your home, detain you, arrest you, and possibly even violate you to a certain extent, because you know, the best way I can put it to you is this way. Since you chose not to do it God's way, which also helps follow the law, then the law and the devil will have the right to come into your home and show you how to treat your partner. So you literally have one of two choices. Either do it the right way and have a happy life, or do it the wrong way and, well, you can just see what happens from there. So with that being said, I thank you all for taking time to watch our video. We wish you guys long and prosperous marriages. That being said, thank you and look out for our next video.